I had imagined leaving that house many times, but never once did I think I'd be thrown out by my own husband and the woman he brought in behind my back. They didn't yell. They didn't apologize. They just smiled. Smiled like I was the extra in my own life. And the thing that chilled me most? The way they were so sure I'd walk away silently. My name is Chloe Carter. I'm 42 years old and work as an interior design director at a firm in Austin, Texas. I used to believe I had a complete life. A cozy 2-story home, a stable career, a daughter in her sophomore year of college, and a 17-year marriage to the man I thought was my life partner, Kyle Carter. That morning started like any other. I had just wrapped up a Zoom meeting with a major client in San Diego, sent off the final design packet ahead of deadline. The relief had barely settled when I heard the garage door open. Kyle was home early. Third time that week. I headed to the kitchen and opened the fridge like it was just routine. "You're home early?" I asked, trying to keep my tone neutral. Kyle shrugged, not looking at me. "Work schedule changed. Need to coordinate closely with Erin, so it's more convenient to work from home." "Erin? The new assistant?" She's sharp, efficient, and doesn't waste time on nonsense. I heard every word, each one cutting deeper than the last. Erin, nearly 13 years younger than me, tall, always wearing red lipstick, and now, the woman Kyle openly praised right in front of me, no shame, no hesitation. That afternoon, when Kyle rushed out for another so-called urgent meeting, I didn't wait. I walked straight into his office and started digging through his drawers. My hands trembled, but my mind was crystal clear. I found a hotel invoice for 3 nights in Fredericksburg. Booked for Kyle Carter and Erin. A dinner receipt from La Belle Vie, the restaurant Kyle once said was too expensive for our anniversary. I laid it all on the desk. Staring at those papers was like reading a signed confession. I wasn't imagining things. I heard a car pull up at the gate. The door opened. Laughter drifted in. But not his. It was Erin's voice. Then, Kyle's. They walked in like the place belonged to them. Kyle didn't even flinch when he saw me in his office, just raised his eyebrows slightly. Erin tilted her head, arms crossed at the doorway. "Looks like you found something interesting." I held up the receipts. Just double-checking what I missed. Kyle yawned, collapsed onto the couch like he'd had a long day. "Chloe, this was bound to happen, we've decided." "Decided what?" "This house, it's too small for 3 adults," Erin said, her lips curling, eyes cutting through me like I was nothing more than a forgotten detail in her perfect little picture. I clenched my fists, holding back the rising rage. Yet somehow, it was big enough for your affair. Erin laughed, without an ounce of shame. "You can use tonight to pack your things," Kyle added coldly. "Or we'll get someone to help you out." I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I smiled. A smile that made them both pause. "I'll leave. But you'll pay for this. And trust me, it won't be cheap." I turned and climbed the stairs. Every creak beneath my feet felt like the opening beat of a verdict. In the bedroom I pulled out an old suitcase and began packing. Carefully. Deliberately. Not much, just enough. My phone buzzed. It was Sophia. My daughter. "Mom, are you okay?" I tried calling. "I'll be home this weekend." I stared at the message, eyes burning. But I didn't cry. "I'm okay, sweetheart. Just doing a bit of tidying up. See you soon." Then I dialed another number. "Hi, I need an emergency moving service, tomorrow at 9 a.m. I'll text the address. We'll be there on time, Mrs. Carter." As I hung up, I was no longer the discarded wife. I was Chloe Carter, the woman planning to take everything back. But this time, I'd choose the battlefield. And I wouldn't be fighting alone. I woke before dawn in the bedroom that once held memories. Now, just an empty shell. Still light stretched shadows across the walls like wounds that never healed. Today, I would disappear from the house that used to be mine. But this wasn't retreat. This was the beginning. I slipped on a plain t-shirt and jeans. No makeup. No perfume. I didn't need to look pretty walking away. I needed to be efficient. At 7:35 a.m. the doorbell rang. I opened it. 4 men in gray uniforms with the Texas Swift Movers logo stepped in, their eyes scanning the house like it was a battlefield. "Morning, Mrs. Carter, we're here for the rush order." I nodded. Lowered my voice. "Only the items I point out, and quietly. They're still asleep upstairs." They understood immediately. I led them through my bedroom, office, bookshelf, the back kitchen. Not a wasted word. They moved like shadows, swift, silent, precise. I didn't take the decorative pieces. No bed sheets or wedding photos. As what was mine. Personal files. Work equipment. My design tools. A few changes of clothes. And the wooden box of Sophia's childhood photos. By 8:50 I stepped out the front door for the last time, rolling my suitcase behind me. Erin was likely still sleeping in the room I once called home. Kyle? Probably beside her, thinking I'd quietly vanished. They were wrong. So very wrong. I called an Uber and headed straight to the Austin Haven Suites downtown. I didn't pick the hotel for luxury, but because it sat right across from attorney Alan Brewster's office, where I had an emergency appointment that afternoon. Room 704 was just comfortable enough. I sank into the chair, opened my laptop, and connected to my personal financial folder. Within minutes, I found a series of bank statements Kyle had no idea I could access. And I suspected the money he invested in Erin's new startup wasn't entirely from his private funds. My phone rang. "Sophia." I answered gently. "Hi, sweetheart." "Mom, Dad just called. He said you moved out because he needed space." "What's going on?" I chuckled softly. "Don't worry, I'm okay. Just staying at a hotel for now. I want you to focus on finals. Don't let him pull you into this." "Mom, if he hurt you, I won't forgive him." "I'm not hurt, Sophia. I'm taking it all back." I hung up, staring off into the distance. Sophia was the reason I couldn't fall apart. And also the reason I had to strike back. By 2:15 in the afternoon, I stepped into Ellen's office. He was about 50, with salt and pepper hair and a serious but not cold expression. "Chloe Carter. Please, have a seat." I handed him the file I'd printed that morning. Hotel invoices, bank statements, and several emails Kyle had sent Erin, which I had backed up from our old shared account. "I want to initiate asset separation, possibly divorce. But first I need to protect my rights. And my daughter's." Alan flipped through the documents, eyes gradually sharpening. "There's clear evidence of financial misconduct, suspicious transfers. This is a solid start. Are you planning to press charges?" "If necessary, I won't hesitate." We spoke for nearly an hour. When I left his office, I felt like I'd just placed the first chess piece, and it landed exactly where it needed to be. That evening, I sat on the hotel balcony, a glass of iced tea in hand, watching the city lights cut through the dark like scars. I didn't feel regret. Only quiet. Strangely, for the first time in months, I wasn't haunted by Kyle's voice, or jolted awake by dreams. I texted Alan. "Tomorrow morning I'll send more documents on Kyle's investment accounts. Looks like Erin is involved too." He replied almost instantly. "Excellent, keep gathering as detailed as possible. We need to close off every escape route." And I knew I could do it. I didn't need to scream or smash windows to prove betrayal. I just needed to stay calm, strategic, and relentless. Tomorrow would be the next step. Checking joint accounts, investigating transfers from investment wallets, and, if luck was on my side, I'd find proof that would cost Kyle and Erin more than just the bed they shared behind my back. I opened my laptop and created a new document. I titled the file, "Counterattack Plan, Phase 1. And I started writing. Not a love letter. Not a diary. But the final script of a marriage I had kept alive for too long, with nothing but endurance. This time, I would write the ending. And they wouldn't even know, until it was far too late. I didn't need Kyle to confess to know he'd betrayed me. I had the hotel invoice, the overpriced dinner receipt, the vague excuses and averted eyes. But, if I wanted to hit them where it hurt, betrayal alone wasn't enough. I needed something bigger. I needed money. And proof of their fraud. That night, after sending the initial financial files to Alan, I called Sophia. Her voice came through, bright but cautious. "Are you okay, Mom?" "I'm fine. But I need your help. Tell me what to do." I lowered my voice. "Do you remember Dad's old laptop? The one he used for his private stuff? Is it still at home?" "Yeah, he keeps it in the desk drawer in his office." "Why?" "I suspect everything." A pause. "I'll be home this weekend, I can grab it then." "No, do it tonight. Open it quietly, copy everything. We're running out of time." Sophia didn't argue. She understood. She was smart enough to realize this went far beyond a marital dispute. At 3 o'clock in the morning, I got a message from her. "Mom, I found some weird files. There's a folder named Private, EL, and transaction logs to a foreign bank account. Looks like Panama. I'm downloading everything to an external drive." I sat upright in bed, my hands were shaking. Not from fear, but from adrenaline. Kyle hadn't just betrayed our marriage. He'd broken the law. I texted Beth. "You're amazing. Don't let anyone see, bring it to me first thing in the morning. Don't let him find out." The next morning, Sophia knocked on my hotel room door, her face tense but determined. "You need to see this." We sat down, opened the laptop. She loaded the files from the external drive. Proof of $72,000 transferred to an offshore account in Panama over 6 months. A fake consulting agreement with a company called Redhaven Group. No website, no registered agents. A string of emails between Kyle and Aaron filled with evasive, coded language. But it was clear. They were siphoning money from the company where Kyle served as CFO. I looked at my daughter. "Are you sure he doesn't know you accessed the laptop?" I used guest mode. No trace left. "Good. Keep the original. I'll forward a copy to Alan." Alan reviewed every file during our meeting that afternoon, his eyes sharp as a blade. "We're no longer just talking about an affair, Chloe. This is serious financial fraud." I crossed my arms, keeping my voice steady. "What's your take? If we report this to the state's financial regulatory office, or send it straight to Kyle's company, they'll have no choice but to investigate, and if more comes to light, he could be fired, prosecuted, or forced to repay the funds." "I want all three." Ellen nodded. "Then keep digging. I'll draft a formal request for internal audit. And, Chloe, get your hands on every bit of data before they wipe it clean." That evening, I logged into an old shared email Kyle and I used early in our marriage. Oddly, he still hadn't changed the password. Too confident. Or too stupid. I combed through emails from the past 12 months. Beyond secret meetups, I found a chain Kyle had sent to someone named Victor L., with an email domain ending in @redhavengogeo. One message stopped me cold. "Victor, route the next transfer through Aaron's name. Stop using the old account. They're tightening audits." I screenshotted it, saved it. That email alone could blow Kyle's entire career to pieces. Like a bomb going off in the middle of a boardroom. Sophia came back to the hotel around 10 o'clock. She sat down next to me, looked at the screen and whispered, "Mom, Dad won't let this go if he finds out what we're doing." I didn't turn to her. "Your dad hasn't let anything go for a long time, now it's my turn." "What are you going to do next?" "Send everything to the lawyer, and then, to his company." I didn't sleep that night. Part adrenaline, part the knowledge that, tomorrow would be the first day, Kyle truly understood what it felt like to be cornered. At dawn, I composed an anonymous email. Recipient: HR@bayerholdings.com. The HR department where Kyle worked. Subject line: Urgent. Financial misconduct of CFO Kyle Carter. The message was brief, but included everything. A PDF file of account statements, accounting system, screenshots of emails, the folder labeled private, and one final sentence: I trust the company will act accordingly once the truth is revealed. I hit send. 1 minute of silence. Then I poured myself a glass of white wine. Not to celebrate, but to welcome the war. 3 hours later, Kyle called. His voice was frantic, gasping. Don't worry. What did you do? Send the truth to the right people. You're ruining me. You know, Kyle, you did that the moment you slept with her and funneled company money into her mouth. You'll regret this. I cut him off, my voice like steel. No. You're the one who's about to regret it. This is just the warm-up. I hung up. A silence settled, not because it was over, but because the storm had just begun. No one knew I was the one who sent that email. Not the lawyer. Not my daughter. No one. I wanted Kyle to believe justice was coming from somewhere he couldn't reach. Because men like Kyle? Arrogant, calculating, always thinking they control the board. Only feel true fear when they can't see what's chasing them. At 11 the next morning, I got a message from Alan. Emergency meeting at Bear Holdings. Kyle and Aaron summoned suddenly. Looks like it's starting. Didn't reply. I just stared out the hotel window, lips curled into something sharp. They thought I'd walk away in silence. Now they had to hear the thunder. By afternoon, Sophia called from campus, her voice high and breathless. Mom. Dad called me. He's freaking out. Kept grilling me, asking if I knew who sent the files. What did you say? I said I had no idea, but Mom, he's seriously panicking. Good. Let him feel what it's like to be pushed into a corner. I ended the call. In my mind, I imagined Kyle sitting across from his boss, Martin Keller, the senior executive at Bear Holdings. The man was known for being ruthless with anything that threatened the company's reputation. I had met him once at a company Christmas party years ago. He didn't smile unless necessary. And if he received the file I sent, complete with clean evidence, coherent timeline, and financial records, he wouldn't look away. That night, I got a response from an anonymous corporate address. An internal investigation is underway. All materials will be processed according to protocol. Please do not contact us again. I smirked. A short, polite sentence. One that only shows up when the recipient just got hit in the face with a truth too bitter to ignore. 30 minutes later, Kyle called again. My mother shot me a look. Chloe, listen, you need to stop this now. Stop what? I asked, feigning confusion. Don't play dumb. You sent it all to Keller, didn't you? What do you think you'll gain from this? I don't need to gain anything, Kyle. I just want you to lose what you were never worthy of having. He shouted into the phone. You don't know who you're messing with. I lowered my voice, calm and cold. And you don't know who's messing with you. I hung up, letting his heavy breaths die on the other end of the line. The next morning, an all-hands meeting was held at Bear Holdings headquarters, in Westlake. An old acquaintance, Martha from HR, texted me as it began. Kyle and Aaron were pulled out of the meeting for a separate inquiry. Word inside is, someone reported large-scale financial fraud. I closed my eyes and exhaled slowly. Not out of satisfaction, but because the truth had finally found its proper audience. By noon, Alan called. His voice was low, but laced with energy. Chloe, it's official. Kyle has been placed on temporary leave pending investigation. Aaron's been suspended as well. They've already started checking the company's accounts and suspicious transfers. And is Bear planning to report it to the authorities? It's likely. Once they find solid proof of the offshore accounts and the fake contracts, they'll have no choice. Good. We're not done yet, Alan. I don't just want them to lose their jobs. I want them to lose their masks. That afternoon, I stood on the seventh-floor balcony, looking down at the busy traffic of Austin. Everything seemed normal. But somewhere, inside a cold boardroom, Kyle and Aaron were being questioned. Every word could bury the careers they built on lies. My phone buzzed again. This time, it was an unknown number. I picked up without saying a word. It was Kyle's voice. But the arrogance was gone. "Chloe. Please. I know you're angry, but this has gone too far. You should have known where the line was from the beginning. They're demanding all of last year's financial reports. They've called in legal counsel. Aaron's been summoned again tomorrow. Do you really want to see me in prison?" I closed my eyes, then opened them, my voice soft as mist but sharp as a blade. "No. I want to see you held accountable." He didn't respond, just the sound of heavy breathing. Then he hung up. I returned to the room and opened the file labeled Phase 2 on my laptop. The plan was ready. Send the statements to the Texas State Financial Oversight Committee. Contact a former journalist, Daniel Frost, who had covered a major financial scandal last year. And finally, prepare the petition for asset separation based on fraud, with a divorce settlement demanding emotional and financial compensation. I texted Alan. "Turn up the pressure. I want them to taste despair before we deliver the final blow." He replied, "Chloe, I've never seen anyone strike back this precisely. They won't even know what hit them." I smiled slightly, because it was true. They thought I was the weak woman who would retreat in silence. But they forgot. I'm Chloe Carter, and I've never played fair with those who cheat dirty. I never thought I'd return to the Bear Holdings headquarters, the place Kyle once called the sanctuary of his career. But that morning I wore a black blazer, dusted off my old heels and walked through the revolving glass doors under the stunned eyes of a few familiar employees. Beside me was Sophia, holding a folder. She didn't say a word, but her eyes were burning. We weren't there to observe. We were there to end it. Martin Keller personally greeted us in the 9th-floor conference room, where an internal hearing was underway with the board, legal counsel, and a few independent auditors. "Thank you for coming, Miss Carter. You and your daughter can take a seat in the back. Today, you'll see the result of the information you provided." "I don't need to see them humiliated," I said, locking eyes with him. "I just need to see that they have nowhere left to run." Mr. Keller nodded. "And I promise you, they won't have anywhere left today." The room reeked of tension. Thick stacks of files covered the tables. A large screen displayed financial charts, statements, and screenshots of offshore accounts. There was no doubt. Kyle and Aaron had been fully exposed. The doors opened. Kyle walked in first, pale. Aaron followed, trying to keep her composure, but I saw the sweat running down her temples. They stood in the center of the room, facing nearly a dozen people staring at them like defendants in a closed courtroom. Mr. Keller began. "Kyle? Aaron. Based on the evidence provided, we have verified numerous unauthorized transactions, from company accounts to undisclosed personal accounts. How do you explain this?" Kyle started to speak, but Aaron cut in first. "We were reallocating funds to support an external project." "What project?" one of the directors asked, voice icy. "Red Haven Group. That company doesn't exist. No tax ID, no website, no operating license." I didn't know," Aaron stammered. Suddenly, Kyle slammed his hand on the table. "It was all her idea. Aaron suggested it. I just signed because she said everything was cleared." "Are you insane?" Aaron snapped, spinning to face him. "You were the one who came up with the Panama account. You think I don't keep the emails? You've got nothing but a lying mouth. And you've got nothing but an empty head and a cheap CFO title." The room froze. No one interrupted. They let the two liars tear each other apart in front of everyone, as if it was the most satisfying part of the entire meeting. I looked at Sophia. She gave me a small nod, satisfied. When the shouting died down, Mr. Keller stood, his voice razor sharp. "That's enough. Based on clear evidence and your evasive conduct, I'm announcing Kyle Carter is terminated immediately, and your case is being referred to the authorities for criminal investigation. Aaron Lanning is removed from all projects and will be reviewed for civil liability. Kyle's face turned ghostly. He looked around, mouth open but speechless. Aaron's head dropped, trembling. A security officer stepped in before moving away from the building. Aaron turned to Kyle, voice shaking. This is all because of you. All because of your stupid ambition. Me? I lost everything because of you. Because of some cheap scam and a few nights in bed? I felt nothing but disgust. Not because of how rotten they were, but because I once believed I was married to a decent man. I was wrong. I had been sleeping next to a snake. Outside the lobby, Sophia and I stood silently as Kyle and Aaron were escorted out. He saw me. We locked eyes. Neither of us spoke. I didn't need to spit in his face. My look said everything. You did this to yourself. I just lit the torch so the world could see it. As Kyle passed by, he muttered under his breath, almost a whisper. Chloe, you'll regret this. I answered with a calm smile. I used to regret trusting you for too long. He turned away, saying nothing more. Sophia held my hand, her eyes shining. Mom, you did it. You made them pay. I shook my head softly. No, this is just the first phase. We still have to bring everything into the light, both legally and publicly. She tightened her grip, her gaze unwavering. Then I'll stand beside you until the very end. On the way back to the hotel, I received an email from Alan. Congratulations, I just got the official notice from the Financial Investigation Office. They'll begin next week. Prepare all necessary documents. I typed back quickly. Already prepared. And they should be ready too, because the next hit will strike where they least expect it. I turned off my phone, looked out the car window, watching the late-day sunlight stretch across a city in motion. Today, I didn't just witness the curtain being pulled back. I stood center stage and let them expose each other in front of the entire audience. But the play wasn't over. And Act 2 would show no mercy. 2 days after Kyle and Aaron were thrown out of Bear Holdings, the news started to leak. Not an accident. It was intentional. And the one who leaked it? None other than me. A letter to Austin Chronicle. I sent a cleaned, anonymous packet of documents to 3 investigative reporters known for taking down corporate scandals in Austin. Among them was Daniel Frost, a veteran journalist at the Austin Chronicle, who once brought down a major real estate conglomerate with a single article. I didn't need to say much. The data spoke for itself, deadly evidence. And Daniel, a man with a nose for blood in the water, responded in under 3 hours. This story's going to cost some people sleep. Miss Carter, you just lit a massive fire. I replied. I didn't set the fire, I just cleaned out the trash. By Monday morning, the Austin Chronicle front page read, XR Holdings, CFO accused of embezzling hundreds of thousands. Accomplice was girlfriend and personal assistant. Just below was a photo of Kyle walking out of the company's front entrance, head down. Next to him, Aaron, pale-faced behind oversized sunglasses, barely hiding the panic. Within 24 hours, social media and career forums exploded with comments, outrage, mockery, and even new revelations. A former coworker of Aaron posted, I used to work with her. She bragged that, you don't need to try hard if you sleep with the right people. Well, now we know. I didn't share the article. I didn't need to. The world was speaking for me. That afternoon my phone rang. Unknown number. I hesitated a few seconds, then answered. Bling, Chloe, it's me, Aaron. I stayed silent. She continued, her voice trembling. I know I have no right to call, but I need your help. You've got the wrong number. Please. I lost my job. My reputation is destroyed. My mother had a stroke reading the paper this morning. I have no one left. You still have your dignity. Or have you lost that too? Silence. You and Kyle destroyed my career, my family, and my self-worth. And now you want pity? I was wrong, Chloe. I got pulled into it. Kyle. I cut her off. Don't shift the blame. You were smart enough to steal, smart enough to crawl into someone else's bed. You just weren't smart enough to escape the consequences. Aaron began to sob on the line. My voice turned cold. You'd better get used to being a target. Because this is just the beginning. I hung up, without hesitation. That night, I received a flood of messages from old friends, co-workers, even neighbors, who once thought I was the silent, submissive wife. I read the article. Can't believe Kyle was that dirty. You did the right thing, Chloe, should have done it long ago. If you need a witness in court, I'm in. I sat on the hotel balcony, phone in hand, reading each message one by one. Sophia sat beside me, quietly refilling my tea. Mom, you know what? She whispered. What, honey? You just became a symbol, not just to me but to everyone who's ever been hurt and thought they didn't have a voice. I didn't answer. I just gently squeezed her hand. Because deep down, I knew. I was finally on the right path. The next day, the evening news aired a short segment. Former Bear Holdings CFO Kyle Carter is currently under investigation for alleged embezzlement and illegal offshore transfers. His girlfriend and former assistant, Erin Lanning, is also under legal review. Both have remained silent. Not long after, Kyle called. I answered, my voice calm. But you won. Chloe. You've won. Stop this. This isn't a competition. What do you want? Money? Reputation? A settlement? No, Kyle, I want justice. And you'd better get familiar with criminal attorneys. You won't get away with this. You just destroyed someone's life. No. Kyle. You destroyed your own. I just turned on the light so people could finally see it. Aaron sent 2 more emails that day. I didn't open them. A 5-minute voicemail. I deleted it after 3 seconds. I didn't need to hear it. She wasn't sorry. She was scared. And I don't rescue people who only beg for help when they're already drowning. Alan called me just after sunset. Chloe, the state prosecutor's office has officially stepped in. They contacted me this morning and requested the full set of evidence. Perfect. Are you ready for the next phase? More than ready. I paused for a moment, then said, now's the time they realize it's not just their reputation that can be taken. Freedom can be reclaimed too. I sat back down at the desk, opened my laptop. The documents were encrypted, organized, and ready to send. On the screen, the title glowed. First file. Kyle Carter and Erin Lanning case. I hovered over the send button. Took a deep breath. No hesitation, no doubt. I click. Sent. As the window closed, I looked at Sophia. She was reading across from me. It's done. Hey, she smiled. Then you can rest now. Tomorrow, they'll start to crumble. And just like she said, tomorrow, I'd watch the wall of lies they built fall brick by brick. Under a light they could no longer hide from. After the storm of scandals, lawsuits, and Kyle and Aaron's desperate phone calls, a quiet emptiness opened in my life. No more lies, no more contemptful glances. Just me, Sophia, and a future that needed to be rebuilt from the wreckage. I didn't want to return to my old firm. Designing luxury spaces for smug real estate men no longer filled me with pride. I wanted to create something that was mine. And unexpectedly, it was Sophia who said the first thing that made my blood stir again. Mom, you've got top-tier interior design skills. And I'm studying marketing and digital branding. Why don't we start our own business? I turned to her, half smiling, half stunned. Are you serious? Completely. I've been thinking about it. A new brand, small but bold, free, no formulas, no bowing to disrespectful rich clients. I stayed quiet, then nodded. All right. but if we do this, we're going all in. We sat together in our hotel room, one notebook, one laptop, sheets of blank paper spread across the table. Ideas flowed like water. Minimalist interiors, with green space integration. Designs tailored for young startups, small offices, indie cafes. Flexible service. From concept to build out, with full decor. Seamless branding from A to Z. I asked Sophia, "What about a name?" She didn't hesitate. "Resilient Studio. Because you're the strongest woman I know." I said nothing. Just reached over and gently squeezed her hand. 3 weeks later, we rented a space just under 400 square feet, inside the East Austin Works Creative Complex. It wasn't fancy or flashy, but it radiated rebirth. One large work table, a creative corner with a mood board, drawing papers, material samples, and a dedicated nook for Sophia, laptop, printer, a whiteboard filled with digital strategies. We began with a small project, redesigning the interior of a newly opened vegan bakery. The owner, Jillian, had reached out after reading my story in the paper. "I didn't hire you because of your publicity, Chloe. I hired you because I saw someone who refuses to back down." The project exceeded expectations. Our first client posted photos of the redesigned space on Instagram, 80,000 views in just 3 days. Then, something amazing happened. Emails started pouring in. "Do you still take small projects?" It's a universal way, rather than a one-off feeling. "I need a home office reimagined. Your style feels like space I can breathe in." "My daughter's opening a tea shop. We need a studio that values personality, not templates." I sat in front of the screen, reading each message. My heart raced. Not from money, but because I was finally being heard. Sophia blossomed. She scheduled weekly content plans, built an Instagram campaign, ran test ads, and even pitched partnerships to 2 local design influencers. "You focus on designing. I'll take care of spreading the word. You're really good at the..." "Because I learned from the best." She winked. We worked all hours. Some nights we passed out on the sofa buried in blueprints and printouts. Some mornings we sipped coffee while making edits at 3 a.m. But no one complained. Because we knew. We weren't doing this for money. We were reclaiming the right to define ourselves. By the 3rd month, we landed a contract to redesign the entire ground floor of a well-known book cafe in town, worth over $42,000. I called Alan. "For the first time in my life, I feel like I'm truly standing on my own 2 feet." He laughed. "Chloe, I watched you stand firm when your world collapsed. Watching you soar doesn't surprise me one bit." One afternoon, while photographing sample products for our 7th project, Sophia asked, "Mom, did you ever think you'd restart your life at 42? I smiled, holding a mini drill. "No. But I also never thought I'd be betrayed, kicked out of my own home, or personally tear the mask off a fake financial empire." "And you overcame it all." "No. We did. Together." Resilient Studio began gaining recognition in Austin's boutique design scene. Articles called us the Startup Surprise of the Year. Sophia and I were featured on the podcast Women Rebuild, sharing our journey from breakdown to breakthrough. Every time someone asked me, "Do you regret anything? Ever wish it hadn't happened?" I always answered, "If Kyle hadn't betrayed me, I wouldn't have found myself. If Aaron hadn't been greedy, I wouldn't have had a reason to rise." I have no regrets. I'm just grateful I survived and became stronger than ever. And so, I kept moving forward. Each design became a brick laid on the road I was once shoved off of. Each client was proof that real value always finds its place. Each hug from Sophia was a reminder that I wasn't alone. We didn't just survive. We came back to life, in a way no one ever expected. That morning, I sat by the window of my favorite cafe, steam rising from the latte in my hands. My phone lit up with a notification from the federal court of Travis County. I opened it, heart steady, no rush, no tremble. The subject line was sharp and clear. Kyle Carter and Aaron Lanning convicted of embezzlement, financial fraud, and money laundering. After more than 4 months of investigation, hundreds of documents, testimonies from former colleagues and independent auditors, the truth had finally come out. Kyle Erhazarabis, the man once dubbed the financial brain of Bear Holdings, was sentenced to 13 years in prison, no parole, for the first 7. Aaron, former assistant, lover, and accomplice, received 8 years, along with a restitution fine of nearly $320,000. The court also ordered the seizure of all jointly held assets linked to the fraud. 2. Luxury vehicles, investment accounts in Florida and the Cayman Islands, and the house Kyle once threw me out of, now sealed for legal recovery. A portion of the assets would be distributed to victims, including me, as a person who suffered emotional, financial, and reputational harm due to their deception. That afternoon, Sophia and I sat in the Resilient studio office. She handed me a cup of honey tea and gently asked, "Do you feel relieved, Mom?" I paused for a moment, then nodded. Not because they were punished. Because now, they can't hurt anyone else. That same evening, local news channels all reported the verdict. On screen was Kyle being loaded into a police vehicle, wrists cuffed, eyes hollow. Aaron was escorted separately, mascara streaked from tears. Both, once proud executives, were now just federal inmates, with case numbers. In the article's comment section, I read words that stung but also delivered justice. Hope they finally understand that real worth doesn't come from stolen money. I know Chloe Carter. She deserves to be celebrated, not to suffer. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. The world was speaking for me. 1 week after the verdict was finalized, I moved into my new home in the North Loop area. A small, charming bungalow, with bright pink bougainvillea draped across the front gate. Close to the city. Quiet enough to breathe. I redesigned every corner, from a handmade oak bookshelf to a sunlit kitchen nook. It wasn't a mansion. But it was a place where lies didn't live. Sophia stayed at the studio, began hiring new team members, and drafted plans for our new community outreach program. We decided to allocate 5% of our quarterly revenue to establish the Rise Again Fund, supporting women who were betrayed, lost everything in divorce, and needed to rebuild. You stood up, Mom. Now it's time to lift those who can't yet stand on their own, she said, eyes glowing with purpose. I looked at her, heart full of gratitude. I hadn't just raised a daughter. I had raised a warrior. One evening at the end of the month, while preparing a keynote for an upcoming interior design conference, I got a message from Daniel Frost, the journalist who first covered our story. "Chloe, I'm writing a book on corporate whistleblowers. I'd love to interview you if you'll allow it." I smiled and replied, "Only if I get to review the chapter about me before you publish." He sent back a laughing emoji. "Absolutely. The woman who brought down 2 powerful people deserves that respect." Finally, on a quiet afternoon as sunlight filtered through the curtains, I received a coffee invitation from Mark Jennings, an old college friend, now a freelance architect in Houston. We'd briefly reconnected at a conference, talked only for a few minutes. But the way he looked at me, it wasn't like anyone had ever looked at me before. "Chloe, I always regretted letting you slip away after senior year, but now I'm grateful. Because at least we still have a chance to begin again." I didn't answer right away. I just raised my coffee, smiling softly. "Not promising anything, Mark. But if anyone deserves a shot at my heart again, maybe it's you. I don't know exactly where the road ahead will lead. But I know one thing for sure. I'm not afraid anymore. Not afraid of betrayal. Not afraid of being abandoned. Not afraid of losing everything. Because I rose from the ashes. And I lit my own fire. As I walked past the gate of my home, I saw the wooden sign quietly hanging on the porch. "Here lives a woman who rebuilt herself." That's when I knew. Chloe Carter was no longer just a name in a divorce file. She was living proof of this. Women don't need rescuing. We just need the chance to fight. And, once we rise, we never fall again. Chloe's story is a powerful reminder that betrayal, no matter how brutal, cannot destroy a resilient woman. From being cast out of the home she built, she turned the tables, exposed the deceit, reclaimed her dignity, and created a new life with her own two hands. Chloe didn't just survive the pain, she rose from it, stronger, freer, and no longer defined by anyone but herself. Let this be a message. You deserve respect, even if you have to claim it for yourself. What do you think of Chloe's journey? Did she make the right choice in fighting for her freedom and justice? Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to follow the channel for more powerful family stories.